Hi everyone, Raphael Harry here, and you're listening to White Label American, a podcast where we hear stories from an immigrant or two, sometimes more. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Hi everyone, Raphael Harry here, your host of White Label American podcast. In the month of March, we have been highlighting women on this show. There's only so many episodes that we can fit in this month, hence my releasing some of my favorite episodes to feature women, Isra El Salihi and Verena Tuna, my missus, to go with the first two episodes from earlier in the month, Michelle Ngome and Brenda Chewingham. Please check them out if you haven't already. But we have had a lot of women on this show. And in today's episode, I'll be sharing with you some of my favorite moments with some of the women that I have had the honor of having on this show. It's about celebrating their diversity and identities. I hope that you will enjoy it as much as I did. I'll see you next week. Getting us started, these are moments from episode 70 in my conversation with Sarah Haruna Moda.
I'm mostly mistaken to be a South African or Malawian, or just somewhere different, not Nigeria. And then I end up saying, yes, I am from Nigeria, and I am from the North. And then that's when all the questions come in. Wow, we've never met a Northern Nigeria in the UK. We've never met, somebody who speaks Hausa, or, there's only a few of you here. So why are you here? So then I dive into answering questions and raising awareness about North, etc. Yes.
Unsurprising. So, where in Nigeria were you born?
So I was born in Gombe, and Gombe is a state in Nigeria, northern Nigeria, from the northern part of Nigeria. It was originally derived from Bauchi State. Mm-hmm. So we're now a state of our own. So I was born there.
That came out from Bauchi. I was thinking
yes.
Gongola. Former
No.
Gongola. Okay.
That's Yola, yes, Adamawa State. Yes. So I was born in Gombe, and and almost kind of raised there. I was all over the place, but Gombe is.
Your ethnic group, is it Hausa or one of the other tribes that exist in the north that people don't really know about?
Yes. So the general ethnic group would be Hausa.
Okay.
And but in Hausa, there are loads of different tribes and different, from the region. There are a lot of different tribes, and I speak Tera also. So Tera is the tribe basically. But Hausa call it a lingua franca.
Okay.
So in the north, most people speak Hausa language, but there are so many perceptions anyway about the north.
Yeah.
And people get wrong about the ethnic group in the north, the ethnic groups in the north.
If you enjoyed these moments, please check out episode 70 with Sarah Haruna Moda. And the next moment comes from episode 71, featuring Ruksanna Carroll. And her husband was also on this episode, but we don't really care about him right now. This is all about Ruksanna. And she's also a star of Netflix, The Circle. So you see, come on my podcast and you become a Netflix star. Hey, still love you, Wayne, but this is about Ruksanna, and it's Women's History Month. So be a good husband. Take one for the team. So I hope you enjoy this. Check it out.
And we're basically what you, I guess, would call now, which is trending, a Blendian family. So that's who we are in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think the best way to say we're like every culture and every difference in the world, we've just basically united it as one. I am South Indian Muslim, 4'4". Wayne is African-American, 6'1" or 6'2", one of them things. He's huge. And he converted to Islam prior to marrying me. And it's just been, we have a 5-year-old daughter who's mixed, and we come from a very big family on both sides. And I think with sharing our stories, so many people seem to be so intrigued. Like we look at it like, what, we're regular people? Like there's nothing really major about us, but people are always just interested in asking us questions and, you know, interested in knowing our story. So I guess in the whole thing of living life, we've also become creatives. We're just trying to share and inspire people and build. Yes.
Awesome.
And it's funny you brought that point up. That resonated with me because my parents are immigrants from India. They've been in America for 40 years, right? And here everybody's probably expecting me that grew up in Jersey City, you know, born in New Jersey all my life. All I know is American culture. This is, you know, coming from immigrants. You would think I'm so Americanized just by my accent or because I married an American, right?
Yeah.
But it's so crazy how I am very, very tied to my South Indian roots. I still speak my native language. You would honestly think I was an Indian woman from India that married an Indian man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's not what people would think when they see me. Like, oh, she married a Black man. She's probably very Americanized. She probably doesn't speak the language. When we always joke and say it's literally fried chicken, curry chicken. Like that's our life in a nutshell. We've fused it completely.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed those moments featuring Ruksanna, episode 71. Don't forget to check it out. Ruksanna and Wayne. And these next moments comes all the way from Nairobi, episode 76, featuring Josephine Karianjahi.
Wow. I was born in Nairobi in Kenya. That's for people who are not so familiar. That's kind of south of the equator, but still the center and capital of Nairobi. I'm, born to 2 Kenyan parents who also are from Nairobi, and their parents migrated to Nairobi a long time ago, or just outside Nairobi. And I grew up, went to primary school here, grew up very much, like many African kids, close to my family members, extended family members. Spent a lot of time with my cousins. Shout out to all my cousins. I know they're going to listen to some of these episodes because of you. And also just, being able to kind of do things like hang out with friends. I grew up in Nairobi, which is it's a very multicultural city. My primary school was very multicultural. Got to go to school with kids whose backgrounds were that their parents were born in other countries and then they moved to Nairobi. Their parents were were from all over Kenya, all over Africa, and also their parents were, had brought them to Nairobi and were experiencing this multicultural city.
Yeah.
So that was a very important part of my childhood. I went to a great school, one of the Aga Khan schools, which is a public school in Nairobi. And if people know the Aga Khan network, it's a network of, it's an education network around the world. They do all kinds of education projects in countries with majority Black and brown people, like Kenya and many others. And so they created a hybrid kind of model where they were part of the public school system, but they kind of added a little bit more content in terms of drama programs, music programs, sports programs that, a lot of people who went to public school in Kenya may not necessarily have had a chance to experience.
Yeah.
So I knew really early on, we even had a school magazine. Like, if you can imagine, like, just, a magazine where you feature the kids and they get to take it home, and, they have pictures of themselves. And, for kids who grew up with all of that,
Yes.
That's very okay. But, if many public schools in Kenya and other African countries don't necessarily have this exposure.
That's true.
So that was a very important part of me growing up, because I got to understand what the stage was like. We had a really fantastic drama teacher, Mr. Adwar. Shout out, Mr. Adwar. If you're listening to this, I'm sure he's into podcasting somewhere in the world. And he was really great at helping us kind of understand how to think about poetry, think about writing, think about drama and the stage. And so although I knew, you had to focus on your studies, I knew there was this whole other world where you could explore creativity and you could connect. And so by the time, we got to the national exams, which are a very big deal in every context, you get to, so I did 8 years of primary school. And at the end of the 8 years, we did a national exam with all the kids from across the country. And then from those results, you were selected to a school. So imagine these 12, 13-year-old kids studying for an exam, which will determine what kind of high school you go to.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people can relate to the stress of being really, keen on that. I've enjoyed school, and I've been fortunate to have opportunities to, be able to excel in certain areas in school. And, that helped me go to one of the top girls' schools in Kenya, Precious Blood Secondary School. Yes, it was a Catholic girls' school.
I was just about to ask. From the name.
It was in Nairobi also. So they picked students who are from Nairobi. It was very competitive and very focused on academics.
Was it a boarding school?
It was a boarding school in Nairobi. And it was very strict. I mean, super, super strict. Like, was something we did. We didn't really have a visiting day.
Oh, wow.
Like, we're told you'd either choose between having a visiting day, which, maybe parents come and visit you at boarding school every week, or you have a midterm where you get to go home. You don't get both.
Oh. So I hope you enjoyed that moment with Josephine, episode 76. Don't forget to check it out. And these next moments are very dear to me. Comes from my cousin who passed away in December, Tawanda Asamaowei, episode 77.
I have a lot of different identities that intersect all inside of me. So my mom is from Zimbabwe, and she came to Massachusetts when she was 16 years old. And she went to school out here and went to college. And my dad, which is how we're related, is Nigerian. And he came out here, I believe, when he was 19, maybe 20. He was young. Yeah. And he came out here for school also. So they met at college. And so they subsequently fell in love, got married, and had little old me. So I was born in Worcester, Massachusetts as a result. I always like to give people this little tidbit. I am the only Tawanda Asamaowei in the world. There are a lot of Asamaoweis. As you know, we have a very big family. There are a lot of Asamaoweis, and there are tons of Tawandas. Tawanda is a Zimbabwean name traditionally given to the firstborn son or daughter or child, firstborn child. So it's a gender neutral name. You can meet, you'll meet Tawandas of various genders if you are on that part of the world.
Okay, good to know.
But because it's a Zimbabwean first name and a Nigerian last name, I am the only Tawanda Asamaowei in the world. So,
do you know the meaning of Tawanda?
So it means kind of like we are whole. So it's kind of, a child is what makes a family.
Yes.
So it's like, it means we're together or we are whole or, that type of thing. That's why it's usually given to the firstborn child.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. And what tribe in Zimbabwe is it from?
So Zimbabwe is different than Nigeria in that they're not really broken down into tribes. You know, my mom's from Harare. She speaks Shona. But they're not. She doesn't really have a tribe in that, you know, like I would say, oh, we are Ija. We are, you know, of the Ija people. That's not kind of how it goes down with her.
Once again, this is from episode 77, featuring my late cousin, Tawanda Asamaowei. Next up is a lovely moment from episode 84, featuring a Nuyorican artist, Laudelina Martinez.
But then when the internet came around and I entered my name in the internet, I realized there were lots of Laudelinas.
Wow.
It's actually a name that comes from the islands not far away from Spain. And it's a name that, was brought to Brazil, to Cuba, to Cape Verde, I believe. So when I looked through the name in the internet, I discovered that, there were Laudelinas for many, many years. In fact, there are a number of obituaries. And it's very strange to read, Laudelina Martinez has died.
Wow.
It's a very strange thing to see in the internet. The whole idea of reinvention is so important, not just on a personal level, but then also in terms of towns. How do you become something else when what gave you your personality, your income is totally gone? And there's a lot in the United States that appears to be going through that kind of cycle. And some people are better at reinventing than other people.
True.
And I'm not talking about gentrifying, because there's an awful lot of gentrifying also being done in some places. And what happens is that people are displaced.
Yeah.
People who were there before, and they can no longer afford to be there. But I'm talking about reinvention. I don't know it so well, but there's a town called Kingston next to the Hudson River. And a number of people have decided that perhaps the arts might be the way to reinvent Kingston. Kingston is a very old town, so in one sense, who knows how many other times it was reinvented,
Mm-hmm.
But that appears to be a town where that is going on now. There are also towns in upstate New York that used to be like fabulously wealthy and big, like Buffalo.
Yep.
And then Buffalo lost a lot of population, but they still had a number of very outstanding things, such as institutions of higher education, a system of landscaping that was put together by somebody named Olmsted, who is a great architectural landscaper. All kinds of things like that, many fabulous buildings. But sometimes the idea is not so much to reinvent, but how to survive when a great number of your people have left. Something like that is happening in Puerto Rico right now. Many people left.
There's a lot of flights from the island.
Yeah. From the island because of the various problems, such as Maria, the hurricane.
The last hurricane where the help never really arrived. So now you have an island, that is used to be overpopulated before, but now it's trying to figure out how to be with fewer numbers of people. If you enjoyed Laudelina, you can hear the full conversation in episode 84. Next up is a conversation from episode 86 featuring the power of calmness, Valerie Placide.
Yeah, my name is French.
Okay, so do you know the meanings of your names?
No, there's no meaning. In fact, Marie, Haiti is a very Catholic country. So most of the time you will see people with religious name like
Okay.
Jean, Marie, things like that before their actual name. So it's like your parents give you that name as a protection somehow. But as the time goes by, people don't do that anymore. But for my time, they would make sure that you have, your first, what we consider here in the US as the first name. They would make sure that it's Bible names. Just it can protect you. Yeah, it can protect you.
Yeah, it's a common thing amongst the Christian side of Nigeria too.
But Valerie, I've searched it. Somehow Valerie means power. And I feel every time I say that, I feel so powerful, I'm being silly. But Placide, Placide is calm. And when I search for my last name, in the dictionary, it means calm.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm really not really that calm, but it's like power. I would say it's calm power. If you would have to give it, a meaning, I would say that my name is,
the power of calmness.
Yeah. So Valerie Placide. It's a French name.
Mm-hmm.
I inherited my grandmother's last name. So, which is Placide.
Okay.
They have ties from France. I think I have family also from what do you call this country again? I can't remember now, but mostly European countries. And my family was, my mom was like a very light skin. My grandmother, my dad, not my dad, but my granddad, they were all very light skinned people. So that's why you see I'm a little like that. So yeah, it's a French name.
Okay. If you want to hear more of my conversation with Valerie Placide, episode 86 is where it's at. The next moment comes from episode 87, featuring the first set of cousins to be featured on this podcast, Amaka, Abara, and Jennifer and Stodel. That's why we're connected. That's why that vibe was just there. Because Pitakwa people, it's just natural. We know ourselves.
Yeah. My life was in Port Harcourt. The other half was in Owerri then before I moved to UK. So yeah, Jenny.
Okay, let me begin for myself. I was born in Abara.
Hey.
Then, like a few years later, moved to Port Harcourt, and I did my whole primary school, my whole secondary school up to SS3. Moved back to Abara. Then I was in my second year of Abia State University, and then moved to the UK with my family. And I have been here ever since. Well, yeah. You grew up in primary, secondary school, and like you don't really know most of the area, and you hear of places, but like I went to Port Harcourt when January, and I could not recognize anywhere. Everything's changed. Obviously, that's normal, but it's just the fact that when people mention places in Port Harcourt, except is the route to and from church, I don't really know, and school. Harcourt that much, which is a shame, but oh well, what it is. Yeah.
So me mostly was saying Obibo. We call it like, but in Port Harcourt terms it's Oyibo. And obviously I went to Abloma first junior secondary, JS1 to JS3. Usually around Oyibo and Transamadi is only place. Yeah, and Moda Cat.
That sounds so familiar.
Wow. Where's Moda Cat?
Where you get cat taxis, where it's Schlumberger.
Yeah.
If that name rings a bell, but if you tell me, I'll put a gun to your head, and I will never know how to get there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I had Moda Cat. If you want to hear more from these cousins, be sure to check out episode 87. Next up, episode 91, featuring Busingye Matsiko-Andan, aka Busie.
I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I grew up in Zambia, as well as in Uganda, before coming to the U.S. So I spent my childhood in Africa, and then I came to the U.S. for my young adulthood.
What are your ethnic groups or tribes that your names come from, and what are their meanings?
So Busingye Matsiko is actually happens to be a Ugandan name from the Runyankole tribe, Western Uganda. Busingye means peace, and Matsiko means Matsiko is actually pronounced Matsiko, which means hope. And Andan is my marital name. It's from northern Ghana, from the Dagomba tribe. And so that is a bit of the history of my names. And I actually also have another I have a South African name, Palisa, which means a flower. That's from that Tswana tribe that my mom is from.
Tswana.
The Tswana. So they have Tswanas in Botswana. And they also have Tswanas in...
I was like, that's familiar. I think I'm more familiar with Tswana in Botswana.
Yeah, they also have them in South Africa. But it's also from the same group as Sutus.
Oh.
And so Lesotho. So Palesa could be a name that is used by the Sutus as well.
Oh, okay. For more of the conversation with my friend and daughter of Africa, Busie, check out episode 91. Next up, episode 93, featuring Moji-Solar Wilson. Let's dive in. So let's go to the very beginning, and you have such beautiful names. And I have a story about your name, Moji, because it relates to one of my classmates when I was in secondary school. But can you break down your beautiful names, what they mean?
My name is Moji, born into, it's Moji-Solar. Moji-Solar, Moji, there's different variations of Moji, but Moji is to be born. And in my case, it's born into wealth. Because I guess I was born when my father was beginning to make his money. And then the Wilson part is my wife's name and my last name joined together. Solar is the solar energy, the solar power. It's a name that I really, really, I hope I'm wearing well. The sun always comes up. But my Yoruba name is Moji-Solar, born into wealth. Well, I was born in Kaduna.
Wow.
And my dad lived in Kaduna with my mom back then. And then the war broke out. I was born really during the war, and the war broke out and everybody was trying to figure out where they would go. So my dad moved to Lagos and we lived in Ikoyi. And then from Ikoyi, we lived in Ilupeju. But of course, everybody's from Lagos, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we all have a village we're from. So I'm from Nigeria-Kiti. And I grew up in Lagos primarily, but my dad owned businesses all across Nigeria. So I ended up going to high school in Ikere, and which is where they send all the bad Lagos kids to school in the village. So they focus. African comprehensive. Yeah, but that's where I ended up going, and it was very nice. I mean, and then I think I finished high school and could not pass A levels. And, you know, instead of staying in Nigeria, my father just shipped me off. He woke me up 5 a.m. one morning and said, okay, you're going to America. And I'm like, who? Because nobody went to America in those days. America was not even considered to be a place where you go for higher education. Everybody went to the UK. You know, we still had the opportunity to go back and forth in those days. We were still part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
So I was shocked. I'm like, why am I the one going to America? Nobody go. All I knew about America was that they shot people. Bonanza. Yeah.
Okay, so let me. I'll come back to Ikere. I hope I said it right, Ikere. That was just fascinating. I haven't heard that one before, but something you said about that just. Yeah, I've heard of schools like that in almost every city that I've been to. So.
Yeah.
The next snippets comes from episode 99 with my dear friend Fayida Jailer of Freedom is Mine.
For your listeners who don't know, I mean, you can hear from my accent that I'm British. I gave myself away. But so I am mixed race. I'm based in London. I'm half white British, half Congolese from DRC. My dad is from Kinshasa. And when my mom was pregnant, she really wanted to give me like a Congolese name. But my dad, he kept thinking of like colonial French names, Belgian names. And my mom was like, no, like unless it's an African name, then we'll just call her something else. So my mom, she wanted to call me Frida after Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
And then my dad was like, aha, Fayida, which is Swahili. And it means, well, you can tell the kind of frame of mind my dad was in when he was in his mid-20s. It literally means, as far as I know, it means like the interest that you get on your bank account. But it also means like a blessing, a bonus, like something positive that comes into your life. So Fayida, there we go.
Wow.
Swahili name. Our name was originally Franks. Okay. And we had Russian Jewish ancestry, and somewhere down the line one of my ancestors came to the UK and changed the name to Jailer to avoid persecution. So I don't know too much about that side, like that side of the family, but that's what I was always told. But you know, we get told these things in our family and then it could always be a lie. So,
there's that too. To hear more of Fayida, check out episode 99 and her YouTube channel, Freedom is Mine. Next up is episode 98 featuring a dear sister, Safi Lynch Wilson. What's the meaning behind your name and what's the origins behind your names?
So let me tell you a quick story about my name. My full name is actually Safiatu.
Safiatu. Oh, yeah. I know that name. Yep.
Yeah, my full name is actually Safiatu, but as you know, I'm from Liberia, which had a 14 plus year civil war. And so when I was 12 and we were fleeing the country, there was a part of the war involved genocide against Muslims.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that was a little piece of it that is not often talked about. Yeah. And so my family is a Christian family, but we have a lot of family members who are Muslims. And so most of us have Muslim names. And so my mother cut my name short so that we wouldn't look like a Muslim family, so that we would not be targeted. So that's how I became Safi legally on all these documents, but my birth name is Safiatu.
But I don't think that part was something that we knew. It was popular, especially being that we were in the southern most part of Nigeria, and it's a highly Christian-dominated part of the country. So maybe that was one reason why it wasn't news to us. Or newsworthy for us to know something like that. Yeah.
It wasn't talked about much, and it's still not talked about much when people talk about about that civil war, because the Muslim population is not the dominant population, but but it's significant.
Yeah,
it's significant, and there has been strife, between the different communities, and so that was something that was happening. But I think because of the greater terror, I think that got minimized or just not talked about. But it was a real fear, because my name was shortened. My brother changed his name entirely. Like, he dropped an entire name and took my father's name, which is a Christian name.
But what about the rest of your names? You know the meaning of so Lynch and Wilson is your marital name?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And Lynch is your
father's name.
Your father's name. Okay. So that any meaning to that?
My father actually has roots from here, from down south.
Oh.
Yeah, his father and their people were from here, and they went to Liberia, because Liberia has a lot of African Americans, the Back to Africa movement. So there's a lot of Americo-Liberians. That's what they're called. Yeah. So my father's roots, even though he was born and raised in Liberia, his father and their roots are from down south here, and they were actually the name is Hill, but he was adopted by someone whose name was Lynch. And so that's the name that we carry.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So a lot of names in there.
Wow. Next, we have episode 101 with the pleasant Ms.Preseeta.
So my name originally comes from Sanskrit. I was born in India, so Sanskrit, of course, is our root language there, one of them. And so it means pleasant. My name actually means pleasant in Sanskrit, and I'm really lucky that I'm not a mean person. Otherwise, it'd be a funny name for me.
Yeah, we would have had to ask for a refund or something.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not the one who gave you the name, but I'm still saying that would have been, yeah.
I would have to stuck with the middle name. So I was born in Mumbai, India, and I lived there until I was about 5. And then I moved from Mumbai to Houston. And I was there for a few years, and then I moved to Oklahoma City. And if you've ever been to Houston, you know that it's really not too far off from India, because there's a huge Desi population there, a very big Indian population in Texas as a whole. But Oklahoma was definitely a culture shock. There's not a lot of diversity. Well, there wasn't at the time. It's much better now. But growing up for me was, I think, probably very typical in the sense of being an immigrant, because, you go to school and you're American kind of, but not really, because you're an immigrant. And then you go home and you're in the cultural activities, and, we have our Onam celebrations and, the things that we just do for culture. And you're Indian, but not really, because you're kind of American. So
Yeah.
Definitely a subculture. I grew up wearing a lot of Indian clothes. I remember show and tell. I wore an Indian outfit to school. Any chance, any excuse I could get to wear Indian clothes, or wear my bindi, my on my forehead, I would wear it. Any of my bangles, anything that I could wear that represented my culture, I wore it shamelessly. And my parents, they never made me feel bad for doing it. So,
oh wow, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I've basically grown up here.
Once again, this was from episode 101 with the pleasant Ms.Preseeta. Next is episode 103, Amanda and Rumbi.
My name is Amanda, but my Shona name, my middle name is Tafara, which means we are happy.
Wow.
So yeah, my brother named me that. I don't know what he was thinking, because I'm sure he was not happy when I was born.
Your brother?
But yeah. But yeah, so, and obviously come from Zimbabwe, Harare to be specific. So that's the capital city, and I also happen to be born and raised there. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
My name is Rumbi Zai non Tokozo. Rumbi Zai, it means praise God, praise God. And non Tokozo means joy. And yeah, just like Amanda, I was born in the 263. We actually don't call it that, but in Zimbabwe, yes. In Harare, born, raised in Harare, in South Africa, in Ghana, and back to Zim. So that's a bit of my story.
And Amanda, you said your brother named you. Is that common for a sibling to name a child instead of the parents?
No, it's not common. But my brother is very revered in our family because he's the oldest son.
Okay.
So I feel like he just took his right to just do what he wants and named me. But it wasn't like a well thought out, like he just, and I think my parents just wanted him to be involved. So he decided. I never actually asked him why, but that's what he was happy, I guess. But I'm sure he wasn't when I started coming to like take over. But yeah, it's not common.
That is beautiful that you shared that. To hear more of this conversation with Amanda and Rumbi, check out episode 103. Lastly, I wanted to give my late cousin, Tawanda Asamaowei, the last word because I have known her all my life as a Marylander, and little did I know that there was a chance of her being a New Yorker. So she told me this while on my podcast, and I just wanted the world to remember her and enjoy this little moment with me. She will always be there to me, and we'll miss her. So episode 77 for the full conversation.
It's funny because we were almost New Yorkers.
Oh.
When I was younger, and my parents were younger, my dad wanted to move to New York from Massachusetts. And so he went out there, visited one of his friends or a cousin. I can't remember the story quite right. But he goes out there. He's like, oh, I got this young family. I'm going to come out to New York, make some money. So he comes out here. He goes into like a gas station or something. He comes out. His car is completely robbed. Like they took all of his things. So he got the New York special. This is like deep in the 80s, I think. And so, that's when New York was New York. And so he gets robbed and he's crying and he's so upset. And he calls on the payphone, another one of his friends. And he's like, listen, man, don't stay there. Come visit me in DC. Like, I'll help you get back home, so you'll have some money and you can get back to Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So he ends up driving to DC from New York, and he goes through Maryland, and he's like, and this is before Maryland was, developed and suburban. It was kind of country. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is kind of nice. I can move my family here. And so that's how we became Marylanders instead of New Yorkers, because my dad got robbed.
And that's a wrap. I hope you all enjoyed these moments as much as I did. And I hope that you will check out each and every one of these episodes. Even if you already did before, do it again, because it's worth checking out and enjoying and reliving that experience. So, everyone listening, don't forget to hit up www.tawanda.com podcast.whitelabelamerican.com and hit the subscribe button. You can donate there. You can buy merch. You can also join our Patreon. And don't forget to give us 5 stars. It's easy. Just go on the website and it will connect you into whatever podcast platform you use. And easy peasy. Give us your 5 stars, write a great review, and yeah, we'll love you extra than we already do. So with that being said, we'd love to give a shout out to Sam George, the very first person to buy us a cup of coffee. That's what donations are called, for those who do not know. So yeah, do that. You make me very happy. Don't you like it when I'm very happy? So go out there and make me very happy, people. Before I forget, today's recommendation is Lead from the Outside by Stacey Abrams. She was on Star Trek Discovery. I don't know if I'll call that spoiler alert, because I don't even watch the show, but it was everywhere online. So yeah. And yeah, that woman can be my president anytime, any day. So check out that book. It's a great book. I'm about to finish it, so that's why I'm recommending it twice in 1 month. That world record right here. So check it out. And as always, thank you for the privilege of your company. Thanks for listening to White Label American. If you enjoyed the show, we'll appreciate if you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. If you have any questions, comments, or have someone who will be a good guest on the show, or you want to be on the show, send us a message at whitelabelamerican@gmail.com. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at White Label American. Thank you for your support.